Audio is officially rolling. I'm gonna do a little clap. All right, that way I can sync up the audio. Okay,
All right.
there we go. Take two. You know what? It's good to get a practice run in, right? You know, you do a whole podcast, you don't press record just to warm up. Yeah.
Man, this guy had me drive all the way back to Hayward from San Jose.
I know. Could you believe,
Come on,
after
man.
all these years, mistakes like that still happen? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting. Something
was
as simple
human.
as, you know, forgetting to press record on the audio. Because I'm used to just running audio directly to the camera because there's a cinema camera.
Gotcha.
And that's kind of one of the benefits is you don't have to have an external recorder. You have like professional audio inputs. So you can just put it right in your camera. You don't have to sync anything in post. So I've been doing that for like a year and a half, 2 years now. It's been like a long time since I've had to record audio separately. So like the
it's
muscle memories.
habitual.
And I could have sworn I pressed record, didn't I?
I don't. You literally had me test the mic. We were good to go, and I was like, okay, you know, he's got it, right?
Yeah,
He's got it.
I
He's
could have
touching it, you
sworn I
know.
pressed record, but you know what? Thanks for being such a good sport, Carl. You know what I realized?
man.
It really put my money where my mouth is because I said, you know what? You can't be afraid to admit when you're wrong and when you make mistakes. And boy, did I make a big mistake that day. Thanks for giving me 2 hours, 2.5 hours of your time.
Oh man, but it was fun though. I appreciated it for
And you
sure.
want to start your own podcast anyway, so it's like it's a way for you to kind of, you know, get your reps in, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
You're good at it, dude. You're a good talker.
Oh, thanks, man.
Which is surprising considering, I mean, we talked about it on the podcast that wasn't recorded, but you know, you were the quiet kid growing up.
Oh yeah, I really was, and I think I was able to kind of grow into my kind of person, you know, really testing out kind of who I am, what I'm, you know. And I was kind of questioning, like, what am I afraid of? Like, why am I caring about what other people think about me?
What were you afraid of? Is that what you were afraid of? What other people think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And after a while, you know, you realize one of the things that actually stuck out to me was when there was a Friends episode where
Friends episode turned it around for you. That's hilarious.
It was a
man.
Friends episode, right? And
Okay.
Phoebe's like running through the park,
Okay.
very wildly and like really goofy looking. But Rachel's very, you know, she was, what do you call it? Embarrassed to be running with her
Yeah,
because she
because
was
Rachel's
afraid.
very like the posh girl, right?
Yeah, and then when Phoebe mentioned it, she's like, "Why do we care about what these people think? We're not going to see them again." And I was like, "Hell yeah, dude! Why not be goofy? Why not make myself laugh?" And so,
How old were you?
I think it was like this was freshman year of high school.
Oh wow!
It took a while. It took a while for me.
Wow.
I've been, yeah, as you know, right? I've been very, very shy and quiet growing up.
Wow, yeah, that show turned it around for you. That's incredible.
Yeah.
I never would have thought it would be Friends. Out of all the shows. Oh my God. So you're a big fan of Friends then?
I mean, not necessarily a big fan, but you know, I learn a lot through shows on specific parts of it. You know, one thing, there's certain parts of the shows and lessons that really strike me, and definitely it gives me that big epiphany, and I'm like, you know what? Why don't I apply that to my current life? You know?
Wow. So I guess you're kind of the example that people try to use where saying, be careful what you watch on TV because it affects how you grow up. So for you,
Oh, yeah.
it actually made a difference.
It did. I mean, there was times where I'm like watching a show and it would lead me down this road of distraction. But then you have like these shows that actually teach you life lessons and stuff like that. So I'm like, you know, you get to see both sides of it. And, you know, I mean, I kind of take it for what it is now. And so I try to watch, you know, those winning story shows or movies and stuff like that. And
Like, what's an example of a winning story?
So
movie?
me and my girlfriend Christina, we're starting to watch this Korean drama. She's got me into Korean dramas.
Oh my Lord!
I know.
You're one of those.
I never
agents,
I never thought I would get into it, right? But my friend Tony recommended this show called Startup, and it was more of like you know, it's a show about these two sisters, and they're competing against each other to be the most successful because they have like this story of starting off struggling as a child, you know, and it's gotten me to, you know, think more towards like the future, bigger vision, striving and struggling and all that stuff, you know? And so I've been watching those kind of shows, and it's been helping me a lot.
Did you watch Crash Landing Onto You?
Oh, so we actually watched a good amount of episodes to it. But why are you asking, man? I mean,
no, because when I was stuck in the Philippines, you know, for the quarantine, that was the biggest thing in the Philippines.
You were stuck in the Philippines?
Yeah, so we were stuck in the Philippines for like 4.5 months because of COVID. We didn't have it, but they just weren't letting anyone out. And honestly, we could have gone early on in the quarantine, but you know, Chris, my wife, you guys know, the YouTube channel is called Mike and Chris on this. You know who Chris is. She left her passport at her parents' place, like at a different city. And then there was a city-to-city lockdown. We couldn't leave the city we were in. Yeah, so it's like, oh, I guess I could leave on my own. I'm like, hey, see you later. But
I'll see you back in the States.
Yeah, we didn't know what's going to happen. So it's like, okay, I guess we're just going to have to stay until things cool off.
Yeah.
And then eventually they kind of lightened the quarantine. They have different levels of quarantine, and they were letting certain people pass as long as you had what's called a travel pass. Of course, we didn't have one, but we just took the chance anyway to go to her parents' place in Tagaytay.
Yeah.
So, you know, we went through 3 military checkpoints, and I just talked our way through.
Damn.
Yeah, because so what I did is I just pretended I don't speak or understand Tagalog at all.
Yeah.
So I just give them kind of a difficult time that way. They're like, okay, you go. Just go. You know, like,
wait, what do you mean? I don't understand.
Yeah. And I really thicken that American accent. Yeah, we're going to Tagaytay, Sealand, Cavite.
Dang, so seriously?
Yeah, seriously, that's what I did. And they're like, oh, you didn't travel pass, sir? It's like, no, we left my wife's passport. We need to go.
And it worked every single time.
Yeah. So we went through 3 different military checkpoints. It was exciting because at the end of the day, the worst thing that could happen is, you know, we're not going to go to jail. They're just going to have you turn around.
Yeah, true.
And then but we didn't have a place to stay at that point.
Yeah,
because we were stuck in an area. Yeah, we were stuck in an Airbnb, and man, we were just spending too much money. You know, and it's like, we put a stop to the Airbnb. We decided to take a risk, and if they turned us back, I think we were going to end up staying at her boss's townhouse. That was the backup plan.
Okay.
Yeah, we did have a place to stay, but yeah, it was how did I get on this? So that I was stuck in the Philippines.
Because you got stuck in the Philippines during COVID.
I know, but how did that come up?
Good question. I think it came up when.
Oh no, because you're crash landing onto you. Yeah. Yeah, because, you know, so you have nothing else. I didn't have my PS4 on me when I was over there. So it's pure torture. I don't know how I did it. It's like, is there even a God? What God would allow me to be in a quarantine with no PS4?
Man, you stuck with your wife during COVID.
I know. We had to talk to my wife.
Oh, jeez.
No, but... So, you know, there was nothing really else to do other than Netflix. And we were productive. We did a lot of work. You know, I worked on Red Sea Visuals, the now defunct Red Sea Visuals, and she was doing her nonprofit thing. But every day, you know, the top 10 list, number 1, Crash Landing Onto You. Yeah. And that is until The Last Dance came out, and that just took the world by storm. Have you watched that?
The Last Dance, is that the
Jordan and Bulls documentary?
Yes, I did watch it. So I didn't. I watched it. I believe I watched it on YouTube. Because we don't have cable. There's no point in cable. So
well, actually, there was because it was an ESPN Netflix collaboration here in the States.
Yeah,
they didn't show it on Netflix until like a month or 2 months later.
Yeah. I wanted to watch it right then and there, so I was like, I'm not gonna wait for Netflix to come out. I'd rather watch it on Google it. It's one of those.
So were you able to watch everything?
Yeah, I was able to watch everything.
So I gotta imagine you learned something from that you apply to your life.
Oh yeah, I think the whole entire Michael Jordan's whole entire mindset whenever it came to winning, it was definitely something that he took it upon his responsibility, and it was a really big team effort. And what I learned a lot was the coach's name?
Phil Jackson.
That
shows you how big of a fan this guy is. So the most iconic coach of the most iconic team.
All right, man. But anyway, Phil Jackson, right? Like, I love the way that he structures it all. It's like that teamwork environment and being able to implement the the strongest players and, you know, adding accessories to them.
What's interesting is you really just see the psychopathic mindset that Jordan had towards winning.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And he was a bully to his teammates, you know, in order to get him to that level. It's like, is that what it requires to be at the top? You think that you have to kind of be that bully? I mean, maybe in the NBA, because Kobe definitely was that too, right? He really patterned himself. Yeah. I don't know if you ever see like the behind the scenes footage of Kobe at practice, but he was very much the same way.
He was I remember I recently just watched this video where I think Jeremy Lin was still on the team.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And then he was just like, you shoot it. He's telling them to shoot it. And he's like, man, I just talked him into shooting, and he still missed it. You guys are trash. And he was just like talking all this mad trash, and I was just like, dude, I don't like that would break down my self-esteem, right?
But if you think about it, it is like, if you can't stand up to that in practice,
true,
how are you ever gonna like deliver clutch in the playoffs, in the finals, right?
Yeah, I think it's more so looking at your weaknesses and kind of what you need to work on, and raising those standards, and having to practice in private for sure, you know, and taking it seriously, because I think they're kind of playing small and playing scared, and that's why, you know, that's kind of where they were at the time.
What was I gonna say? I was thinking of something. We were talking about
Crash landing on you.
No, we were talking about Kobe Bryant, and I was listening to you. Then I started zoning out because I really wanted to say what I wanted to say, but then I realized, I really should be listening.
You freaking
instead.
guy.
Then I just lost.
You're waiting to respond instead of.
I know, because you know it's kind of that thing, or sometimes you really want to say something.
Oh yeah.
But okay, no, I should wait my turn. I shouldn't just come out and say it. And then I ended up zoning out, and I didn't listen. Anyway, I mean, you're here for a purpose anyway, right? Because I turned 40 last month, and I thought it would be thank you. I mean, I don't know, what is there to be congratulated about? I'm still alive, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, right? That's what they say. You're not guaranteed tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but that's kind of, I know people say that and you should take it seriously, but that's one of those lessons that's really hard to absorb. Right? Especially like when you're younger. Like, yeah, you're not guaranteed tomorrow. I was like, no, I'm young. I'm invincible. What are you talking about? I'm not guaranteed tomorrow. It's just something you don't think about,
man.
right?
I could jump off a building.
Yeah, that's why when Kobe Bryant died, that was
a gut check, and that was a reality check, man. And you know, it's definitely rest in peace to one of the legends out there. And man, I woke up I remember the day. You know, I literally woke up. I looked at my phone, and I pulled up you know how you pull up the internet browser and it has like news. And I was like, wait, what? Kobe Bryant just died. And I had to check if it was real. Yeah, because there's lots of stories of celebrity. Like Jackie Chan has died like 20 different times. Hugh Jackman's died like 5 times already. Yeah, but I remember me and Chris were getting out of a yoga class. And then she just like brought it up on her phone. I was like, and I was just done, you know, being all zen and namaste and all that, you know, being super gay and, you know. Frolicking.
Yeah, because that's what you do in yoga class. Yeah, just frolic, all gay, like. But yeah, you know, so I was just like in this, you know, very like peaceful, like, you know, state of mind. And then Chris brought up her phone, and it completely took me out of it. Because I was a huge Kobe fan.
I know.
Like next to Mike, it was Kobe for me, because I'll take Kobe over LeBron any day. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because to me, he has the complete skill set. And there's no doubt in my mind that LeBron's the best player in the NBA right now, and he's definitely one of the greats. But the dude's like, what, 4 out of 10 in NBA Finals?
He is, yeah. It's tough, and it's like you see him having to kind of, you know, try to carry the team as much as he can, right? He has a bunch of stats, but it's like, how can we close out on it? You know, he was able to close out with Kyrie, you know, but I think it was definitely a struggle with other teams and stuff like that. So,
yeah, the thing is, it's like it didn't really become clear, because there's always that debate of who's the GOAT, MJ or LeBron. And then I saw this Facebook post. He said, "Hey, if my friend goes to a girl's house, 9 times and he only smashes 3. And I go over to a girl's house 6 times as I smash all 6. Tell me who's the GOAT. I was like, oh yeah, it's so clear when you put it in those terms.
Man.
It could not be clear who the GOAT is, right?
That's a pretty good analogy.
There's no debate, you know, and that when you put it that way, there was absolutely no debate.
Yeah.
But, you know, the younger generation, and now I'm turning into the, you're my Jay. You have no idea. I'm Jay. But it's
so
true
true,
because, like, I remember I was watching this one video. NBA players are talking about, you know, their favorite move. And they're talking to the younger guys. They're talking about, oh, Kobe's fadeaway. Kobe's fadeaway. He took that from MJ. That's MJ's fadeaway. And even Kobe admits that, right?
Yeah.
Kobe got, like, in The Last Dance, Kobe talks about, everything you like about me, I took it from him. It's all from him.
Yep.
But like, they don't even know that. I really am turning into a crotchety old man. Oh, you know what?
Getting all bitter.
Let's get back on topic there, right? Because I brought you here because I thought it would be fun, you know, to talk to someone younger.
Yes.
Now that I'm 40 and you're 27.
27.
Right? So it's like, okay, what questions do you have about turning 40? Now, I know since this is the second time we're doing this, we all know why. We already said it on front. So it's not my first time answering these questions, but maybe, you know, now that I've answered them once, something new will pop up or I'll be able to explain it clearer.
Oh, for sure.
Okay, so what's the first question?
So I'd say...
Oh, he doesn't even need to go to his phone.
Yeah, I'm going to look at it still.
And some of these questions were by committee, right?
Hey, man. Hey, that was said in the last one, right? They don't need to know now. So I did leverage. So I did ask other people, family members, what kind of questions to ask, you know.
What was their reaction when you told them, like, you know, you were trying to come up with these questions? What did they think of this whole idea?
They loved the idea,
yeah.
and they were excited to be able to contribute and ask the questions. Only got like really 2 questions out of it, but
really interesting.
Yeah.
I think that I would have thought there'd be more.
Yeah, but I mean, everyone's busy with their own thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'd say the first question is, if we're looking at 40 years of your life, what would you say the greatest lesson is?
Ooh, the greatest lesson. I remember I'm gonna start with the one I didn't say last time because it really bugged me that I didn't say it, and it's definitely the lesson I had to learn the hard way is you need to take care of your joints, especially since you're so physically active. And I was like the epitome of physical activity: basketball, lifting weights, lots of plyometrics, lots of martial arts. Yeah, take care of your joints because at 37 I suffered a knee injury. And it took me out for like 3 years.
What was the knee injury?
At first, it was just a tendon strain. I was doing a full range squat. I didn't even feel anything like pop or anything like that. So I was doing full range squats at the gym, and then I was gonna end with some light cardio. And then when I was running, it's like, what the fuck? I couldn't put full pressure on my right leg.
Felt a lot of weakness and kind of
I was kind of like hobbling, so I just kind of stopped. Okay, you know what? I kind of like felt this before, so let me just stop. I'll just rest it, and I should be fine the next day. And then the next day, it wasn't better.
Yeah.
And then it kept not getting better. And I would even be walking sometimes, and I would almost fall down. I would just completely lose strength in the leg.
Damn.
So I ended up going to the doctor, and then he did a quick test where, you're sitting down. He asked me to extend my leg straight, like leg extensions, right, on the machines, and I couldn't do it. The pain was just too much. I would lift like an inch, and it just it hurts so bad. And then he said, "Okay, relax," and then he just did it for me. And that's when
you had no pain.
And there was no pain when he did it for me. It's like, oh, okay, so that's a tendon injury because the tendon connects
to the
muscle to the bone.
Yeah.
Right. And he said, well, okay, all you really need to do is just rest then. You should be okay. No surgeries needed. And of course, me being used to being physically active, did I rest?
No.
I
want to get back out there. I want to do the fun
my form
stuff.
was rest, really wasn't resting. I did what I could to avoid it. But, I was still training calves. My calves and other things, and it just never really got better. And I did that for maybe a year, and then that's a year and a half, and that's when it finally dawned on me. Okay, you know what? Maybe I should
rest.
Just
Actually,
completely
rest
just no leg training whatsoever. And it's
like all the guys out there.
Yeah, like most dudes out there, right? They only trained up
Like
our
the gym
body.
rats out there, right?
Yeah. How much can you bench? Like it's like you're gonna be benching for 2 hours straight. Come on, there's other muscle groups to hit.
Oh man.
I know it's nuts, right? Yeah, well, but yeah. So after a year and a half, it finally started getting better where I could run on it. And then for work, this is when I was working at the agency. Now we did this shoot down in Visalia. We had to go snowshoeing. It wasn't a magical experience, but it really pushed my knee to its limit.
Oh.
So after that, I was really hurt again. And no matter how much I rested it, it never got better. So I finally got an MRI at that point, and that's when the doctor told me, "Oh, you have basically no cartilage in your right knee."
So it wore down your entire.
Yeah. And I was like, "Well, yeah, you have the knee of a 55-year-old." I was like, "Well, okay, so what do I do about it?" It's like, "There's nothing you can do.
Because then you can't
Grow cartilage back."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, what?" And then it's like, "Yeah, you just stay off of it. Can't be physically active anymore." I was like, "Well, that's not gonna happen. That's not a solution."
That's tough. Yeah, that's tough to hear.
Yeah, especially because as soon as he said that, it was like that's when I realized I have to be smart about it. I'll just go do yoga instead, because this is a doctor who's overweight, and you're telling me, okay, I'm 38 at this point. I think maybe I might have been 39 already. And you're telling me that for the rest of my life now I have to be physically inactive.
Yeah.
And look at you, you're fat.
Yeah.
Because I asked him about stem cells too, and he said that doesn't work, but it does work. So it kind of just showed me this guy's not really keeping up to date either.
Yeah, he's not open-minded to a lot of things.
Yeah, he's not open-minded. He's not keeping up to date. Mind you, doctors are really busy. I know it is hard to keep up to date, and he's overweight himself. So it's like, this guy might not really know what he's talking about here. I mean, so that's when I decided to start doing yoga, and with yoga, I was able to rehab my knee because you're able to strengthen the muscles that support the knee, but adapt the pose where it's not painful.
Yeah.
And after about 6 months, the pain was gone, and I could
Wow.
say, you guys can't see it, but I can now do that with no pain.
Yeah.
And then look at that. Look at me.
Gling,
I'm
bro.
40.
Gling,
I'm 40
man.
years old. No, but
Doctor, if you're watching this.
yeah, so and that's why and I was making fun of yoga earlier, but I've come to Jesus about yoga because it's allowed me to really strengthen my knee, and I can finally, jog again.
Yeah.
I don't do it much, but it's like, oh, I got it to that point. Like, I don't know if I could ever play basketball again. We'll see. Maybe after a year and a half of slowly bringing it back up.
Yeah.
But to close this long story is take care of your joints, because when I was going hard in my 20s and my early 30s and even my teens, you never think about recovery.
You don't. Yeah.
You don't think about taking glucosamine or turmeric to really preserve your joints over the long term. So I would say, take care of your joints, man. Do yoga and take supplements. Take glucosamine and turmeric to take care of your joints now, so that by the time you're 40, it took me out for 3.5 years, dude.
That must have been so tough, because coming from like a person who's really active.
Yeah, playing basketball, I do a lot of Muay Thai, you know. Can't do it anymore. I have to accept at this point that the martial arts, side of me, that's probably done with. And I know that's a big part of my identity and what I did for fun. It's like, okay, I have to kind of reinvent myself in a little bit. I'm going to be Yoga Mike now. Namaste. Yeah. So take care of your joints. That was one. That's the one I learned the hard way. What did I say the last time we were there? There was 2 lessons I learned, right?
Good question. I mean, last time it was just, we talked about a lot of stuff.
Well, one of the things I said is don't be afraid to admit when you're wrong. All right, that was another one. Don't be afraid to admit when you're wrong or when you don't know. And I was definitely, and I still struggle with. I'm a lot better at it these days. But you don't want to. It's hard to admit when you don't know something, especially if you're on a film shoot on a film set, and you're trying to be helpful. You want to be helpful.
Yeah.
Saying you don't know something, you feel like, I'm not helpful at all.
Yeah,
you feel
so
like
you act like you do.
You act like you do, which only gets you into more trouble, because then they give you this responsibility thinking you know how to do something. And you're like, oh shit, I don't know how to do this. What do I do now? So that's like in the long run, just say you don't know.
Yeah.
And just say, that you're wrong. Because if they're a good person, they'll handle it well.
Yeah.
Then let's say, because there's definitely going to be people out there, and I've definitely worked with people on film sets who don't handle it good at all. They're just complete assholes about it.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's on them. You're doing the right thing by admitting that you're wrong or that you don't know. Because that's the only way you're ever going to grow. If you've never acknowledged that. You're going to be stuck in the same place. And like I said, it just makes it worse.
Yeah, it does.
Because they give you the responsibility thinking you know how to do something.
And then it's funny because it's like when you try to act like you're doing it and then you do something wrong and then they come to you, it's like, I thought you told me.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I didn't want to.
So it just makes things worse. So yeah, as hard as it is, just bite the bullet, let your ego down a little bit. Is that something you struggle with, or you're okay? You're good with that?
I've actually learned, like very similar to you. I've learned to not do that anymore, because I've made mistakes where I've acted like I've known something, and then the moment that the truth came out, it was embarrassing, And
Karlo, this baby needs to come out. Oh, you said, what you do?
I'm just a massage therapist.
I'm not gonna massage it out. Yeah. Just push from the top of the belly.
But man. You learn to ask for help. Being able to.
That's a tough one.
It is a tough one, but it's something that you have to humble yourself with because you don't know everything, and when you actually acknowledge that, the right people are willing to teach you. And not only that, but they like, being able to help and make you become better,
Yeah, that's something that I still struggle with, asking for help. And that's crucial, actually, when you make videos or you're a filmmaker or like me, is because collaboration is everything.
Yeah.
Especially if you really want to work on projects that you like, you often rely on others to help you out because, you're not working for money. You're just trying to make something that you truly believe in. And it's all about asking other people. And that's something I struggle with. So that's kind of also why I wanted to ask Dave. Like I told you, if you want to learn more about like Dave's lighting techniques, I had him good feedback on one of my videos. And that was very tough for me to do, because I view Dave as like, oh man, this guy's like worked on movies. He does all the Golden State Warriors spots. Yeah. And I was like, oh man, I don't want to waste his time, Why on earth would he ever be interested in, helping me out?
Yeah.
But I just took it upon myself, like, you know what, you just gotta bust through that, that comfort zone and you just ask, because he was really gracious about it,
Yeah.
He probably gave me 2 hours of his time and we talked on Zoom, although I had an audio fuck up on that too.
You did.
You know what happened with that? It was interesting is I tested, because I was recording all the Zoom stuff, not through Zoom, but through another program called OBS, which just turns out way better that way.
Okay.
And I tested this. I figured out the setup a week before. I did a bunch of tests. I did a bunch of fake Zoom meetings with Chris to really test it out. And then an hour before, like Dave and I's actual Zoom call, I tested it again a few times, and everything was working perfectly. And then for some reason, when we actually had it, his audio was not recorded when he was doing his breakdown. It's only when we did a split screen that his audio was there.
Oh no!
So it's like, oh, you gotta be fucking kidding
Wait, so
me.
did you have to have him do it again?
No, because that's the thing. Dave's a really busy guy.
Yeah.
Right. So what I did was where I had his audio, I just left that in, and the parts when he was breaking it down, I just shot myself like going over my notes of what he had to say, because I didn't want that just to be wasted.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I remember I told Dave about it, and I was like, "Oh, this is unacceptable. Talk to my agent."
Talk to my agent.
But yes,
Cheryl.
Yeah, I know. Cheryl, yeah. So Cheryl's my cousin, his wife. That's joking. That's his agent. But yeah, so that was me really going out of my comfort zone and and asking for help, because I really do respect Dave, as a filmmaker. And then so that's why, and then he also offered, hey, anytime you want to do something creative, just let me know. I'm always down to do something creative. And then that's how I got him to agree to shoot the intro for this thing. Wasn't that intro?
That was amazing.
That was amazing.
It was really, really fun, man.
You were so good in that intro,
Damn,
dude.
man. It was you were good too, man. We vibed off each other's energies. It was great.
Yeah. So we haven't shot it yet at this point, folks.
But that was good, right? You guys believe
but it was good. You got to admit. Yeah. So that's where I
caught the cue this time.
Yeah. The first time we did that, you did it's like, oh yeah, the concept is really good. He took it so seriously.
I was like, oh wait a minute.
No, but that's how I got enough courage to ask Dave, see if he was interested to shoot it, and he was. I was like, oh, so yeah, it's gonna be awesome. Looking forward to it. So yeah, asking for help. I guess that does coincide with not being afraid to admit that you're wrong and you don't know something. That's that's an important lesson. I remember the other lesson I told you about now too is that having good friends really makes for a complete life. That's what makes the world go round. That's what I learned when I was living overseas on my own and had no social framework or structure at all, any support network. Although I guess that's not entirely true. I had our family in the Philippines, and Kuya Bang, my older brother, he stayed there for a few months to kind of show me the ropes. But I didn't have any friends, and that's when I realized, oh man, that makes a huge difference because you're in the States.
Yeah,
I had a very healthy social life and a very healthy group of friends.
And you grew up here mostly.
Yeah, so that's when I realized, man, for having friends really makes a difference because you go out on dates with girls, but that's really, until you find the one, that's really, that shifts. It's like sand,
It does.
You can't really, but your friends, the good ones, they stay there.
Around.
That's very stable. That's your core. And so, having a good set of friends, even just one, if you can find one, like your best friend, that's a true friend. Yeah, that makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
I know your best friend's supposed to be your significant other. But you need a best friend outside of that, okay?
Oh, yeah, because it's always, because then there's sometimes you have of course, you have your wife, your best friends, right? But it's just, that's your wife also.
Yeah.
If ever you have issues with that relationship.
Yeah, it's inevitable. That's going to happen.
So it's always good to have that outside perspective too,
Yeah, that you could vent to, like, oh man, this fucking bitch, you wouldn't believe it. Oh my God, you wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it. Yeah, I can't take it anymore. No.
But since we're on the topic of relationships,
nice segue.
Yeah, right. I'm getting there. Right. Since we're on that topic, right, we did speak about compromises last time, and we talked about your love for gaming. Ooh. And so how has your love for gaming affected your relationship?
It doesn't really affect my relationship these days. So I guess
these days.
Yeah, I guess maybe it does. I don't know, maybe Chris, I don't know how much it affects Chris, but sometimes I realize, I'll be playing video games at night and Chris will just be on her phone in the bed. It's like, maybe, we should just be watching something together instead and spending quality time. Because especially now, most of the day she's in the garage doing her thing and I'm up here doing my video thing.
Yeah.
Right? And we only see each other, during lunch and then dinner.
Yeah.
It's like, so probably it still does affect it, not to the extent that it used to. But yeah, it's every now and then I realize that and I put the controller down. Hey, let's watch something on Netflix together. But it did affect it heavily at once when my addiction was really bad, as we were living together in the Philippines, and every weekend, well, I guess this is kind of coming out because I was kind of a secret boyfriend to her family before. So now if they watch this, they're going to know we were living together.
Surprise.
Oh, it's too late. We're married now. You guys can't have a problem with it. But so every weekend she would go visit her family back in the province in Tagaytay. And usually, a lot of people don't drive in the Philippines, so they take the bus back home. And
the jeepney.
Yeah, well, not the jeepney, the bus, because it's far.
Gotcha.
And the buses are actually really nice going to the province if you take the air-conditioned one. But usually what would happen is, I would walk her from my condo to the bus stop and wait for the bus.
From your where?
from my condo.
Oh, condo.
So over there they say condos, not apartments.
Got it.
Yeah, I don't know what the difference is between a condo and an apartment.
You know, I tried looking it up because I was like, if ever I want to like purchase one,
Yeah, what's the difference?
I have no clue.
Yeah,
I still have no
they're
clue. I looked
literally
it up.
the
There's
same
no,
thing.
It's the same thing. Yeah.
So I don't know, but in the Philippines, they're referred to as condos. Here, they're mostly referred to as apartments. Although I know there are condos here too.
Yeah.
So usually what I do is I'd walk her to the bus stop and we'd wait for the bus. Kiss her goodbye. She goes to visit her family. But one time, I was really just so addicted to this video game that I would just not walk her to the bus stop, and we got in an argument about it. We got into an argument about it, and I just stuck to my guns. I really just wanted to play that video game, and I let her walk to that bus stop all alone, waiting for her.
Man.
That's how bad it got.
Yeah.
So it used to affect our relationship a lot more, but it's gotten better. It's become clear what I want to do with my life, and as like I said, when I told you, when I hit 31 and I was working a dead end job at that video game company, that's when it occurred to me, like, okay, time's just going by here.
Yeah.
I need to be smart about what I do with my time. Didn't stop me from playing video games, but it kind of got me on this long path to becoming more productive with my time.
Yeah, and I think sometimes, people could look at gaming as like an escape. But in reality, there's if you set some time aside and you actually enjoy gaming and it's a part of your life, you don't want to completely cut it out, right? It's just something that you just have to make time for, and you have to, tell your partners like, hey, I'm looking to dedicate this personal time for myself, and
I mean, that's definitely the way I look at video games, because it is an escape for me.
Yeah.
Because when I'm playing a good video game, and everything else just goes away. But that's also kind of the problem too, because everything does go away.
Yeah.
Where I'm not thinking about work, I'm not thinking about sleep, I'm not thinking about anything else. I just want to play this game.
Just gotta be conscious of the time.
Yeah. So it's about finding that balance. I think I've sort of found that balance now. Yeah, I think I have, but I think it's like anything else. You take 2 steps forward, a few steps back. It ebbs and flows.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Well, I think I've answered that question pretty well. A lot better than last time.
Good job, man.
A lot better than last time. Yes, I said it's all about friends. Don't be afraid to admit when you're wrong. And then the joints. Yeah. Take care of your joints, because I see you working out all the time.
Yeah, it's I actually the fact that I'm going through all this, working out, having to kind of put my body through all the strenuous activity, it's like, okay, I gotta look at this in terms of like, okay, how do I recover? How do I maintain this? Having to be a massage therapist for the 5-year span that I had in my career, I definitely learned a lot in terms of maintaining proper warm up, being able to work on my own body. And really kind of releasing, those tension in those areas. Because that's what I was thinking. I was like, man, if I'm looking to stay active all my life, why not learn a skill where I could actually look how to recover it myself, versus having to pay for an expensive expert, right? Why not, go into that field and learn the knowledge that I needed.
Expensive expert like you, right? Your massages, right?
Yeah.
So how does I know I don't really know much about massage, but I know it really is, if you take recovery seriously. All the UFC fighters do it, the NBA players do it. What is massage's role in recovery?
So massage it's more so helping your body heal itself, and so. In reality, knots are just stuck muscle fibers, right, where there's a lack of blood flow. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so what it requires is actually the nutrients that's within the blood to get pushed towards it, and so it eventually it releases. And so that's really what massage is that you're pushing the blood so that your own body heals itself.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Because, the way people would describe it before, it's almost kind of like this, spiritual woo-woo bullshit. Like,
Well,
you're
there is
releasing
pieces of that in
like
there too.
the negative energy, the negative forces. You know, it's like, oh my god. It's like I remember in yoga, my first yoga class, I really enjoyed it. And at the end, like the teacher started reading poetry, and I was like, oh my lord. It's like, that's when they just start losing me.
Yeah.
Or when you're just lying there at the end, just breathing in and out, and they start, oh yeah, breathe out all that that negativity, you breathe in, the love. That's like, you just don't even say that. You just let me enjoy the breathing. You just start losing me and all that.
Wait, so then how are you during yoga sessions then?
No, I'm good. I'm just concentrate on the breathing, like. And I've done it enough now because I've been doing it on my own since I left the country in February. I haven't been back to yoga class because of COVID and everything. So I don't have any of that anymore. But when I was doing the yoga classes for a year, after a while, I was actually, depending on who was doing it, actually enjoyed it. Like there was this one teacher, Isabella. She would sing like these chants, and she was a really good singer. And it's because of the reverb, the echoes in the room.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it actually adds to the vibe. But what bothered me is when the other students would start singing along with. I was like, oh, here we go. Oh,
can you shut up?
Yeah. Like, oh boy, there's such a thing as being into it too much. It's like, So now that you've explained it that way in terms of the knots, that makes complete sense to me. Yeah, it's preventing the blood from going there and delivering the nutrients that your muscles need.
Yep.
Is it true that stress causes the knots too?
Yeah. So whenever it comes to stress, they talk about this chemical being released into the bloodstream. And so this could affect kind of how blood circulates and how it flows and everything like that, and kind of how it affects the muscles. And so they teach us during those moments of stressful situations, our body has natural defensive mechanisms where, your body will just like tense up without even knowing it, right? It'll just naturally just like tighten up. Even I've noticed this when I get haircuts. I'm like holding really tightly for some reason, right?
Maybe that barber's getting a little too close for comfort. Hey, my head's up here.
Oh, not down there, yeah. But yeah, it's just how your body does these holds. It tenses up during moments of those things, and you don't realize it. And that's kind of where they attach emotions towards those muscles. And so whenever they talk about there's a How I Met Your Mother episode where there's this Brazilian guy and he's giving a massage, and then it's just so over exaggerated, but he's giving a massage, and then I guess they were having a one of those flashbacks. Is like, oh my god, that makes so much sense now, like a memory or something like that, an emotional memory.
Well, it does make so much sense now. I guess that's why girls always cry when I give them massages then. Yeah, it has to be that.
I'm sorry, Chris.
Yeah, it has to be that. It has to be just repressed memories. Makes total sense.
Exactly, yeah.
It's not me at all. Yeah. That's hilarious. What's another question?
Okay, so I would say another question. If we go back to your time in the Philippines, you're raised here in the U.S. Having to go back to the Philippines, you didn't necessarily understand Tagalog.
Oh, I did. That's the thing. I never lost it. I don't know how that happened.
But you spoke it?
No, I didn't speak it.
Okay.
I don't know how I never lost understanding it because I moved to the States when I was 6 and no one ever spoke Tagalog to me.
Yeah.
But for some reason, understanding it, I just stuck there.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. But yeah, when I first arrived, let me let you finish your question.
Well, we can get into that too.
Go ahead, finish your question.
Yeah, so with that, right, with your experience going back to the Philippines, how has that necessarily changed kind of your outlook on life?
It was everything. I mean, that's why I can't really show the tattoo here without unbuttoning my shirt.
Why it's not that man? Kind of
Why
show.
Not that kind of show. You got to go to my OnlyFans page.
Oh man, subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe.
I pay you $3 for subscription.
It's onlyfans.com/MikeyBoy.
Mikey boy.
No, but that's why I knew when I was going back to the States, I wanted to get a tattoo to commemorate my time in the Philippines, because that's where I really became the person that I am, because I just learned so much about it. You know, just it's one thing to be living on your own. It's another thing to be living on your own in a completely different cultured country. Yeah.
Man, that's a big challenge.
Yeah, and yes, I guess, you know, when I got there, I didn't speak the language. I understood. I mean, the Philippines, you can get away with English, you know. For the most part, everyone understands and speaks English, but it's not ideal, especially if you're driving or if you're riding around in taxis. It's the fastest way to get ripped off. Just to just break out with English in that American accent.
Oh man. And
yeah,
they'll just charge you whatever it is that they wanna.
Yeah, my Tagalog was just laughably bad when I would try to speak it. Because I remember one time I was on a date, and me and this girl were taking a taxi, and me being like, you know, being so like confident, I broke out with the Tagalog to the taxi driver to go to the spot, and he understood it enough. You know, he took us to where, you know, we were supposed to go. When we got down, and, you know, me and my date were just chilling in like this lounge. And then she's just, you know, I gotta say, your Tagalog is just horrible. It's so bad.
What was the phrase that you said
that
to
was
the
like,
taxi
I think
driver?
that was the first date too. So I made a great first impression.
But you try to play it off, huh?
Yeah.
You try to play it off as if, like, you know.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, you fake it until you make it, right? What was I faking it? But, you know, you know, I wasn't afraid to laugh at myself, so by no means it had ruined the date. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, Tagalog was horrible. It didn't really start turning around until I went back to college to UP Diliman. Shout out to UP Diliman. Because over there, like, Tagalog was just used so much, and I would just take the jeepney around the campus.
Yeah.
So I was kind of really just forced to immerse myself in it and really use it, you know, 5 days a week, and that's when it really started developing. I never regained native fluency, like on a scale of 10, I probably got back to like a 7 out of 10 in terms of speaking.
Okay.
Understanding, though, was still 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
You know. So in terms of how it changed my perspective, it just made me realize how much people had in the States. And there was one time when I was living in the house that I grew up in, and it was dilapidated.
Yeah.
And then no one had been living in it. It just kind of fallen apart. And I was actually okay. You know, I lived there for maybe like a month and a half, and I was content. You know, I was able to eat food, and I was still practicing martial arts on the side. I remember I would sit out on the gate at night, just kind of like looking up at the sky and eating my dinner. And I was like, oh, wow, you know what? I really don't need that much to live. So that kind of really turned everything around me. And that's when, like I said, that's when it became clear to me about how having great friends really makes your life complete. And I realized the best way to make great friends was you just got to do things that you enjoy.
Yeah.
If you do things that you enjoy, those connections will be naturally built, because you're meeting people that share that love for whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
And that's the best way to, you know, to meet people, because it's just like anything else. When you're intentionally trying to make friends, or you're intentionally trying to like date or find that one person, it tends to not work out.
It's not as genuine.
Life is kind of cruel that way, you know?
Yeah.
Because, you know, there's that cliche of, oh, you know, you'll find love when you're not looking for it, and you'll find that person. It's like, when you're single, when are you not looking for it? That's kind of the whole thing about being single.
Yeah.
You have to look for it.
Yeah, you're dating, you're looking for it,
yeah,
right?
but it was true. Like with Chris, I wasn't looking for her. You know, I was kind of like at this point where I knew I was ready for a serious relationship, but I was just I wasn't in a rush to get in it. I was just kind of like, okay, I'll just kind of like let things develop naturally. I just, you know, when opportunities came to me, you know, I would take them, but I put no pressure on myself or the other person to be anything more than that. So that's kind of like, and I wasn't looking for Chris specifically, and she kind of just stumbled into my life. And it's like, okay, I guess that's what they mean then when they,
Yeah.
they say you're not looking for it.
Yeah.
So I guess that's another way, being in the Philippines really made a difference for me is before the Philippines, and this is something I mentioned the last time we talked, is I didn't really have the emotional tools or just social tools to develop a relationship and keep a relationship built. I just didn't have that in me. But being forced to grow up, I went from 0 to 100 basically growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that gave me the emotional and social tools to develop relationships and build one. Build a long-lasting, serious one.
That's good. And and that's something that I think there's no shortcut to it, and if ever Chris had came
Well,
upon,
you can move to a different country by yourself. That's
well, that
about
was the shortcut to it, right?
Yeah, that's about as big a shortcut as you can make.
But I think,
still, then it still took years.
oh yeah, and I think that's where people kind of have to go through these experiences to actually be able to not only find that one person but maintain that person.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's everything that I've gone through has led up to this point.
Yeah, keep talking. I am listening. I just want to set an alarm because you have a hard out at 12:30.
Oh, that's right.
So I just want to set my alarm for 12:30. Keep talking though. Keep this
for
thing
sure,
going. I'm gonna set the alarm. So go ahead, keep talking. What was
Let's see. So we're talking about the Philippines.
Okay, I'm back. You can stop talking now. No, but yeah, you're asking. So that's why I got the tattoo.
Yes.
Because the Philippines was everything in terms of my personal growth.
The tapping.
Well, the original tattoo, the first 75% of the tattoo was just a regular ink gun.
Yeah.
It was from a different person. I can't remember what his name is, but he was a very popular tattoo artist in the Philippines. I think his name was Gene Testa. He was the tattoo to the stars, and he did that with a regular ink gun. And then when I went back years later to get married, I added to it to complete the half sleeve. And this time, I wanted to get it hand tapped from a different artist who specializes in hand tap. So they did the whole outline hand tapping, and it was just the outline that was finished, and that just took forever. Hand tapping is just a whole lot slower than the ink gun. And they said it was supposed to be less painful. No, not at all.
Oh, I mean, you think about it, you're under.
It's the same. It's the same amount of pain, and it's just. There's just more of it because it just takes longer. So when it came time to do the shading, when I went back a year later, I said, "No, let's just use the gun." I got to experience the hand tapping. That was great. Now I know what it's like, but the gun's good enough. Although you know what, I am curious about the Japanese method, the tabamori. Have you seen that?
I don't think I've seen
where they
that.
just kind of stab you with.
You know what? It's yeah. I think I know what you're talking about. It's like a thick knee. It's not like necessarily.
It almost looks like an X-Acto of the blade. Not the blade, but just the handle. Then they just stick you. I'd be curious to experience that.
Stabbed multiple times.
Yeah. I'd be curious. That's the kind of, because I am gonna get another half sleeve.
Is it gonna be the Japanese?
No,
design,
the half sleeve is probably gonna be another Filipino inspired one, but. Maybe something on my leg or on my butt cheek.
Heyo. Your name.
Yeah, onlyfans.com/MikeyBoy.
Your link.
No, but I'm always been the kind of person that, I want to experience that. Why not? Yeah. You only live once.
Exactly. Right.
You only live once, ladies.
Heyo.
It's only kinky at first. No, but Philippines was everything to me. But in terms of career, I didn't really think about it. That didn't happen until I was over here, and like I said, and I got stuck in this dead end job in the video game industry, and I was getting older.
Yeah,
and that's when I started thinking about, okay, what do I actually want to do with my life? But yeah, there you go. I answer your question.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely, man.
Yeah,
and leading up to that, right? We're talking about kind of your journey so far. So growing up in the States, going back to the Philippines, definitely, being able to build the emotional and people skills, all those things. Finding Chris, right? So when you came back to the States, Chris stayed back.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you came back to the States, now, okay, you're looking to develop your kind of, I would say your footprints here, kind of setting down your foundation, and then eventually, she'd come on board. So for you having to, I remember you mentioned this last time, age 31, you decided to kind of work for yourself.
It didn't get that far yet. So, because what happened was this, I'm not going to name the specific, you know, company I was working with, you know, it's a good idea to keep I'm going to keep the studio cryptic. Okay. But what happened was I got screwed over for a promotion over there. There's something about the video game industry. I can't say it's all companies, but the company I was working at and the company that other people I knew were working at, this is just kind of how things run over there. It's very political. Everyone stabs each other in the back. They don't like to hire from within. They don't like to promote people. They like to hire from without. So, you know, opportunities for promotion are very few and far in between. And that just, you know, kind of ramps up the whole political aspect of it even more so. So I was screwed over badly for a promotion. And that's when it made me realize, like, man, what the fuck am I working so hard for here? I know like 5 years could easily go by and I'd still be stuck in the same position. And at that point, I'd be like 35, 36. So that's when I knew, okay, I have to do something. Something has to change. And I want to do something that I actually enjoy. I didn't know what that was yet. And so, like I said, I think for like 2 months, every weekend, I would just go to a cafe and just research, okay, well, my criteria was I have to enjoy doing it. And I don't want to go back to school for 4 years in order to start this career. It would be a 2 years of learning max. It would have to be, and it would have to be more like portfolio based than it is experience based, because I wouldn't have any experience, right?
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to have a degree. And you know, the program had to be hands on. So yeah, I thought about becoming like an audio engineer, like, you know, for like recording studios. That sounded like fun. I looked into being not a construction worker but a carpenter, because it always seemed like, man, I want to have that skill of building like a house or building things.
So something creative.
Yeah. And then I remember, because I used to be a professional theater actor, right? And back in those days, I used to write and direct for the station. I used to write and direct one acts, and I was always curious about, you know, crossing the pond and going into filmmaking, but I never did it. So it's like when I was looking for something I want to enjoy, I started thinking about that again. And then I found, you know, the program at De Anza College. Shout out to De Anza College, you know, 2-year program, very hands-on. And then that's when I kind of started honing in. And so when I was working at the video game company during the summer, I took the summer course, the first like intro to filmmaking course, and that's the one that you were in. My first 2 videos.
I started
that's why I said it's kind of poetic justice that Karlo's here for this conversation, because this guy he played the villain in the very first video I made, and then he was the main star in the second video I made, which was kind of my crowning achievement for that beginner's class.
Yeah.
Because like for a beginner, that was a pretty damn good video, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was hard. You were playing 2 parts, but it was like the premise was he was stuck in a dream and he was fighting against himself.
Man.
And figuring out those shots to make it believable that he was fighting against himself, that was something else.
It was something else. And the fact that there's no audio to it either.
Yeah.
You know, it's something with audio for some reason.
It's one of those things.
Didn't record.
I didn't have any equipment. I only had the cell phone.
Yeah.
So I couldn't record audio properly. So it's like I might as well just eliminate it from the equation.
Oh, really? Was that? I didn't know that was that. I thought you just decided to.
No, I just that's just like I looked at the tools I had. It's like, okay, I can't do audio properly anyway, so I'll just eliminate it, and it's just music.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and it turned like, you know what? I think I still have it. I'll put it up at the end. Put it up at the end of this video. Yeah, it'll be fun to see.
It will.
It'll be
actually, I haven't seen it in a long time.
It'll be fun to see. And this would be the second thing I ever made. It was shot completely on a cell phone. It's just me and you, and then Martin helped out.
You can see his arm in there. His arm is in there acting as if it was my arms.
But I remember you were just so game, man, and that was awesome. And I think that's what made it better too, because you were really into it and you took it seriously, and you were a good actor, dude. I really encouraged you after that, right?
Yeah.
I was really encouraging you to get into theater and go further, because you were good. But you didn't. You decided not to take that route, though.
Yeah, I didn't. But you know, it was something that I like enjoy. But it was definitely something that was kind of hard, because it's like you gotta not necessarily over exaggerate, right, your emotions, but it was definitely having to kind of be that person in that situation, really live it, you know. And so it was definitely something that was challenging, but it was also really, really fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I remember I would even I skipped work one day so that we could reshoot, certain shots.
Because the sunlight was going down,
Yeah,
so we
yeah.
couldn't have it.
Because like at that point, yeah, it was really clear to me. Like, fuck this company. Why am I gonna give them my time? No, this is what I want to do. I'm gonna just skip work and then say I'm sick and go do that.
Yeah.
What was your question?
We were talking about
Because you asked me about 31. Is that when I started?
working on your own.
No, so that didn't start. I just led me on the path knowing I wanted to do videos. And
You were just learning, kind of getting that foundation set up first.
I mean, when I was at the Anza, the goal was always to eventually not necessarily have my own thing, but have my own clients. Like come up with. I always wanted to do branding videos and work for brands and come up with my own clients. But whether that was me working for a production company or me having my own thing, it was really more. I think I really more veered towards being hired by a production company or an agency. The whole having my own thing didn't really come about until I think. So I went to De Anza for a year and a half. I never finished the certificate because for me it was just all about getting the hands-on skills.
Yeah.
And after a year and a half, I was ready to go out there, not necessarily have my own projects because no one's going to hire a director.
No experience, no portfolio.
That video I shot on the cell phone. Oh,
Why
yeah.
not,
Yeah. Sure, Nike's going to want to hire me. I thought it was a masterpiece personally. But, just realistically speaking, brands aren't going to hire me. So I thought at least I was ready to start being a production assistant, a camera assistant, a grip. And so that's what I did. And for like a year and a half, 2 years, I was really, still trying to be a director and, get clients. But no one was giving me a chance. So that's when I kind of just started slowly realizing, well, no one wants to give me an opportunity. I have to make my own opportunities.
Yeah, I like that.
So that's where it started. And then, as I went down that journey, every now and then, I would take on like a full-time gig with a production studio. And then I did a full-time gig with a real estate marketing company where I was shooting videos for real estate and even photography. And then most recently, I was working at a media agency as a producer, editor, and sometimes shooter too. And as I did that, that's when I kind of slowly realized, you know what, the 9-to-5 thing, it's really not for me. Because here I am, using my skills for these other companies. And what do I get out of it? You get a paycheck. But at the end of the day, that's your life that's going away. That's your time, and you never get that back.
Yeah.
And especially since, I don't want to hate on the companies I worked for. Well, I can hate on that first one. I don't mind about the first one I'm talking about, because the thing is with filmmaking and videos, especially if you're talking about like getting clients, the quality of the work doesn't determine that. It's really, how you market yourself and your network. That's what determines it more. Because, when I was struggling to get opportunities, there were people and there were production companies that were just getting tons of work from big clients, and my work was 10 times better than them.
Yeah.
But I just had no network. I didn't know how to market myself at all.
Yeah.
And so, when you're working, I was working for a company like that where my work was 10 times better. And it was just kind of soul crushing. Yeah. Because like, goddamn, my work is so much better, but here I am working for them instead, and they're not even paying me that much. Right. And they, they're getting the bulk end of the payment. And yet they're benefiting from my skills. Yeah. It's like, well, I'm getting the raw end of the deal here. And then that's kind of like, and then when I worked for every company after that, that was kind of the repeating pattern. I enjoyed the other companies because of the people there, but that whole, dynamic of they're benefiting from my skills and all I'm getting out of it is a meager paycheck. Yeah, I'm getting the raw end of the deal here. And so that's when I just started crystallizing to me. It's like, no, you know what? The best usage of my time is to use my skills for either my wife's benefit or my own. Because you never get that time back. Yeah. And, I told you this story that Chris, when she was working for the Alameda County Registrar of Voters, she had coworkers from all over the place because it was a very seasonal job. And one of her coworkers was this 50-year-old woman with 3 kids who had just been laid off from her other job. And it's just like companies at the end of the day, they care about their bottom line. They don't care about you.
Yeah.
So you're 50 years old, you have 3 kids that you're supporting, and you just got laid off.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, at the end, to me, it's a bigger risk thinking that companies are really going to take care of you in the long run. You're better off just betting on yourself. It's a harder road, but at least you have your own best interests in mind.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. And then I love it when you spoke about that last time, because you said if ever you're gonna do something, do it for yourself.
Yeah.
And not only if you're gonna do it for yourself, you're definitely taking that that tougher road, but everything that you're doing, you're kind of building kind of quote unquote equity within yourself, because then you're building a skill set, you're building a network, and whatever you do, right, you're going to benefit because you're now better at that skill. And you can literally apply that in really any industry that you decide to go in, because the skill sets are definitely, universal.
Yeah. And the truth is, because recently, like over the last 2 years, I've been on this education kick where, I've really started watching a lot of videos. There's a great channel I recommend for any creative, and probably might help you too. It's called The Future, on YouTube. You spell The Future, but with no E. And what they do is they teach creatives about business. So
that's right.
Yeah. So I've really been educating myself on that. And then I really started educating myself in terms of money. I mean, I already knew how to manage money, but now I was really kind of educating myself. Okay, well, how do the rich people think? How do they view money? And one thing that's said is, you don't get rich working for other people. You just don't. You can get comfortable, but you'll never really get rich. You get rich working for yourself. And when you're filthy rich, you're really comfortable.
Yeah.
So that's the way I look at it now. That's why working for yourself. I mean, I think that's the way to go. Now, that's not to say, of course, if you have bills that you need to pay and you're going to have to take a job, by all means do that. But that shouldn't be your end goal. Your end goal should be to have something for yourself. At least if that's the kind of person you are. That's the kind of person I am. I'm just not a 9-to-5 person. If there are people out there who are 9-to-5 people, and I wish I could be like them, because that road is just so much easier. But I'm not. I'm just not.
I feel that. And, if for those of you who are, 9-to-5ers who do struggle with those things, we have a lot of time in the day. Who's to say that you can't go to school, or who's to say you can't learn something on the side? I mean, for you to work at the gaming company, but for you to actually look into other routes of your own career change, it's something that you had to do.
Well, that's kind of what's interesting about, all this COVID madness is, well, now people have all the time in the world, and now it's time to put up or shut up, right? Yeah. That's why a lot of people are starting podcasts, A lot of people are starting businesses. So that's kind of to me, that's kind of been the silver lining. And I mean, to be perfectly honest, 2020 has been one of the best years for me and my wife.
Wow.
Because it's really just allowed us to pursue what it is we want and really focus on that.
It brought awareness to the things that you guys feel like
we were completely aware, but it just gave us the freedom to do so. No other commitments.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with you there, because this whole entire COVID madness, I definitely made the decision. I made the decision to, finally commit to my girlfriend. We were talking for a good amount of time. I was very confused during those times until, COVID happened. All I know is that, she was the one who's always there for me. And, acknowledging that and seeing for what it is, I definitely decided to commit. And from that point, we decided to become better as a couple.
Are you guys Facebook official?
I haven't done that yet.
There's no commitment until it's Facebook official.
But
is that even still a thing on Facebook? I'm not really big on Facebook anymore, so
I'm not big on there. I mean, I'm really big more so on Instagram.
Yeah.
Facebook's kind of like
yeah.
But
Yes, I don't know.
Facebook's a huge
Yeah,
market.
comment down below. Is that still a thing? Your relationship
Yeah.
status on Facebook? I'd be interested to know.
Yeah, that'd be, I'll definitely make it official there.
Yeah.
But hey, she's on there.
Yeah,
she's on there. It was the Thanksgiving
Well, she's all
post,
over your IG too. Yeah.
Yeah, she is. So, but yeah, it was a blessing in disguise. And not only that, we decided to not only pursue our careers more, aggressively, but, our own personal health. Being able to make those commitments. I started getting up at 5 a.m. in the mornings now.
Yeah, you're doing
because
the whole
of her.
CEO. So is her.
Yeah, she is. So it was crazy to think that I would ever be able to get up at 4 or 5 in the morning just to work out, because she has work at 7:30. So it's like we got that time crunch. But I noticed that you can get so much done.
How long did it take you to get used to that habit?
So I'm a big believer in progressive. I don't think that the next day I'm gonna just do it. It doesn't happen that way. So for me, I would go from waking up at 10, brought it down to 9, brought it down to 8, 7, and then 6 and 5, right? So it just became gradual from there, And so now, even though we fell off last week because of holidays, you're having a good time, drinking, you want to rest. But, today we're like, okay, you know what? We're just gonna get back into it. Woke up at 5. Kind of took a little bit of time to get out of the bed, but we still got up, worked out right before she left for work. And so, right back at it.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, what's the next question?
So since we were talking about, so you talked about, educating yourself in terms of the future and everything like that. What would you say is the best book that you've read throughout your whole entire time?
Ooh, so there's 3 books that come to mind immediately. The first book that really changed my perspective, and this was recommended by The Future. It's called Win Without Pitching.
Win Without Pitching.
Yeah, so it's so I don't know if it's similar to what you do with your financial consulting services. So for creatives, a big part of the dynamic with clients is you have to pitch to the clients in order to get hired.
Yes.
Right, and so what this teaches you is like, no, you should not do that at all, because pitching is you coming up with the idea, right? And you coming up with the idea, your thinking, your experience, that's the most valuable thing you bring to the project. When you're pitching, you're just giving that away for free. Okay, so and that's kind of like how the world's been built in terms of the creative world. That's a dynamic, but he's just showing, no, you don't have to do that at all. You're giving away your value for free. Instead, what you need to do is you're going to sell yourself on the standardized process that you've created that pretty much guarantees amazing results. That's what you sell. Because especially for creative projects, when you pitch, you have to know so much about the client, about what their goals are, what their brand is and everything in order to really come up with ideas. And that's work. You're doing work already at that point. You're doing
the majority of the work.
Yeah, exactly. And then when you pitch too, what's the stopping? You know what? We really love that idea. We're going to steal it and we're just going to do it ourselves.
Yeah.
There's just so much that goes there. So that was the first paradigm shifting book for me. And it's not just about, not pitching too. They just teach you, it's really just about about what your value is as a creative and how not to be taken advantage of and how to negotiate, how to change your perspective. That's the first one. The second book that really changed me was this book called From Good to Great. You remember I mentioned this last time, and it's all about that hedgehog concept. And that hedgehog concept, so the book From Good to Great is over a 5-year span. They studied 11 different companies that transitioned from being good to being great companies, where they beat the S&P 500 index anywhere between 15%, 10 to 15%, 20% over a long period of time, 10, 11 years. And but they also had comparison companies that had the same opportunities, but for some reason they didn't become great companies. They just got worse. So they were able to identify, common factors that made these companies from good to great. And the big common factor is that hedgehog concept. Essentially, the hedgehog concept is broken down into 3 factors. What can you be best in the world at? Not what do you want to be best in the world at. What can you be best in the world at given your skill set? Your strengths, right? What do you really enjoy? What fulfills you? And what drives your economic engine? And whatever intersects between those 3 that is your hedgehog concept. And all of your business decisions, all of your marketing decisions need to be driven by that. And that's what those companies did. They really stuck to it no matter what. Even though there were like trends, like, you know, when the internet really arrived on the scene, burst on the bubble, you know, these companies, they weren't quick to jump on it. They wanted to figure out, oh, how does it fit within our hedgehog concept first? And that allowed them to really just continue to grow to becoming great. So for me, my hedgehog concept was, okay, what can I be best in the world at? I know I can't be the best, like, flashy filmmaker in the world. You know, you see all these YouTubers with these flashy ass transitions. That's not my style. You know, I'm really more into like the filmmaking, cinematic storytelling kind of thing. I know I can't be like the best cinematographer in the world because I just don't have that big budget movie experience, but I am really good at telling stories. And I'm really good at bringing about humor when I'm talking to other people. All right. So that can be the best at that. And I'm also really good at using music for storytelling. That's something every you know, like especially the last full-time gig I had at the media agency, the creative director there, like, he was really blown away by it. Like, he's like, oh man, your use of music is phenomenal. He was, that was kind of my reputation over there. It's like, I would come in and save projects just by my music, you know, choices alone, and music editing. And I was asked to come in. Okay, Mike, do your magic. Come in here and say
Mike.
this. Yeah, and there was this one big project where I literally, and it was like a really high pressure project for the client, and I took the video from a C to an A+ just from music alone.
All right. Music plays a huge role.
So I can be the best at telling stories, you know, through cinematic sequences, the use of music, and through humor brought about through you know, conversations with people. I can be the best at that. In terms of what I enjoy making videos, so that goes right there. And in terms of what drives my economic engine for YouTube, it's not really profit per video, because that's really hard to calculate, and you can't really make a plan for that. Okay, for each YouTube video I make, I'm gonna make this much. Like, no, it's
tough.
It's not. It just doesn't work that way. But what I can like kind of calculate is, or like strive for, is how many true followers can I get per video, right? That's a metric that makes sense, that really drives, because in YouTube, it's really about gaining your true followers, building your audience. When you have that true audience, that's where the money comes in, because that's when you get sponsorships, you know, you get affiliate links. So it's all about that. That's how really you're going to measure economic success in YouTube. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense.
So there you go. So that were my 3 factors, right? I knew what I was best at, I knew what I loved, and now I knew what drives the economic engine in terms of YouTube. So that's what my hedgehog concept is, and that's what drives. So that's why the videos I make for YouTube now is this. You know, we have a cinematic intro for this, and then we have the conversation to bring about the humor. So you know, you'll never see me release a cinematic video just on its own. It's always going to be tied into conversation with someone or more than one person in one way or another. So there you go. So that's really that. In that book, From Good to Great, that's what made that clear to me. And now I know what to focus on in terms of YouTube. Because, you know, when you're thinking about YouTube, like, oh man, what kind of videos do I make? There's just so many things you can do.
So many.
But now I have it honed in. The weekly vlogs with Chris, and this, hanging with Mike, cinematic intro, and a podcast. Yeah.
Sounds like super fun.
It is.
It's very entertaining to watch.
Yeah, it's very fun. And, you know, it pushes my skills, because I'm really trying to push that cinematic intro. I'm able to exercise the storytelling with the music, and I'm able to do the humor thing and just talk about
all your strengths, man.
Yeah. And by doing that, stick to this, you know, I'll slowly build that true following audience. I mean, right now, I think we're at 60 subscribers. I know that's not a lot, but you know what? I'm very proud of that number, because it's grown organically. You know, I'm not trying to slide into people's DMs begging them to subscribe to my YouTube channel, not like I did before with Red Sea visuals. So I'm very proud of that 60, because it's really grown slowly but surely over the past like 2.5, 3 months.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, and it's heading in the right direction, you know? So,
that's good.
Yeah, and so the last book that really changed my life was the most recent book I read was The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, and how to think like a millionaire. Because, you know, people who are rich, who make a lot of money, they really do think differently from those who are just comfy, and definitely from those who are poor. And I knew that just through experience, but I really didn't know how. So reading that book really just kind of educated and made me a parent of my own like programming in terms of the way I view money and the way I think of money. And I kind of had like that working man's mindset in terms of money, where I realized, oh, you know what? I actually resent rich people. And that resentment actually prevents you from
Getting more.
Because it prevents you from viewing things as opportunities, or it prevents you from wanting to learn.
Yeah.
Because you just think rich people are assholes, and that's not really the case. Maybe the rich people that I met were assholes. Because money, what I learned is, it's kind of just like a multiplier on your personality.
Oh, absolutely.
Whatever your personality is before you're rich, it's just going to get multiplied once you are rich. There are plenty of rich people who are, who are really genuine and nice. And then another thing I learned is that, from the way you're raised and just the way you grow up, school, the things you watch, or just your own experiences, people have an internal thermostat for how much money they should have. They're like, what?
Internal thermostat.
Yeah, like that's the way they describe it. Because the way a thermostat works is, your house can get really cold, it can get really hot, but eventually that thermostat is going to bring it back to whatever it's set at.
Yeah, equilibrium.
Yeah, and people have that with money too. Like in their mind, they're just used to having a certain amount of money. So it's like, no, you've got to change that thermostat to, you know what? No, I deserve to have way more money.
Yes.
And that's I'm worthy of that.
Yeah.
So that's when I realized, oh, you know what? My financial thermostat was actually set lower than it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I realized it too when, I took Chris to this trip to Santa Barbara. We stayed there for like 3 days. And, Santa Barbara is a very rich town. There's a side of it that's very rich, and she loved it. And, like my resentment of the rich really just came out. I was like, oh, you know what? This is really not for me. It wasn't until we went to the more like college kind of town. I was like,
this is where I'm
my
at.
speed. And then I just realized, no, you know what? You're just selling yourself short there.
Yeah.
Your potential and your ceiling. No, why not? Know what? That is for me. Why not?
Yeah.
There's no reason why I can't be at that level too.
Yeah.
And it was because of that book that I realized that Chris had been trying to tell me about it, but it just, sometimes things just don't penetrate. And then when I read that book, that's when it became clear, like, oh, yeah.
Man, and that's I like how you mentioned that book, because I'm on my last chapter of reading The Magic of Thinking Big, and it literally touches up on that too. You are what you give your thought. Your thoughts are what move you. And so if you feed your mind with these positive thoughts, these values, this vision that you deserve to have this amount of money, so that what this money does for you, it helps you provide for family, helps you go on these vacations, live the life that you want to live, and that only comes from what you give yourself, what you allow your mind to think about. And that's huge. And that's what I love about being able to learn from other successful people, like when you mentioned you wanted to learn from Dave and how successful he is, all the cinematography he's gone through, like the fact that he was open and willing. You will find that with a lot of successful people, especially when money's a great multiplier, you learn that they're more than willing to help provide or help you in those certain aspects, especially if it's in their realm of industry. You know what I mean? So I think the fact that he was open to help you was that was something that knowing Dave, I wouldn't doubt that he'd make time, if not give you like 30 minutes or something like that. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Like I said, it was just my own fear of asking for help.
Yeah.
That's really, honestly, I should have just asked him years ago. Imagine how much I would have learned from Dave if I just asked him to kind of, almost like take me under his wing from the get-go.
Yeah.
But, there was just this pride of me also. I kind of had this pride of just, no, I'm going to make my own way. I don't want to, because I felt like me asking for help, that's like me using someone. But it's not.
I see that.
It's really not. But that's kind of, I was kind of afraid of that perception though. So it was about, no, I gotta just strike out my own, and I'll struggle, and I'll learn some way or another. But I can only imagine where my skill set would be now, or where my career would have been if I'd have just like reached out to Dave earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge, man.
You know, I think that's a good place to stop too, because it's
Oh,
12:30, and that's your hard out, man. Dude, we
That
did it.
is.
I didn't forget to press record. I would look over here every now and then to make sure it's still recorded. It's been recorded this whole time.
It better, man.
Camera's been recorded this whole time. Oh, the lights, the electricity didn't go out. Yeah, there you go.
That's right. Oh, hey, man, before you should save it or something. Before
No, we're recording.
happens.
So Karlo, I know people want to like find you in terms of your financial consulting services. What's the best way for them to reach out to you?
So we did talk about this last time.
Yeah,
and
I know
so
we didn't
the
talk
best
about it
way-
much this time, but Karlo is a financial consultant and he's really good. So what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
So I'll have my links posted below, and so when we can have a definitely
Oh,
conversation.
he's already assuming that it's just posted below. Oh,
Yeah, we're
okay.
gonna have links down below, man.
I'll
You
put those
better- you
links in the
better-
description.
I'm just
No, I'll
kidding.
put them down below. That's probably the easiest way. But like, what's an easy way for them to find you,
So I mean,
scope you out?
majority of the way that I kind of I mix business and lifestyle kind of in my social media, whether that
Okay.
be through Facebook, whether it be through Instagram. So I'm looking to start to do something in terms of like this, being able to produce the content, free content, being able to just give value, educate, because
Okay.
that's one of those concepts that growing up, I did not learn a lot about finances. And I love the fact that you talked about it earlier, was that, we didn't know a lot about, this is what I learned was called a financial blueprint. And so my financial blueprint was that I resented the rich too. And so when I finally learned, I was like, okay, you know what? It's just a matter of you being able to utilize that money for good. And not only that, but, put your money in places where it helps protect, against a crisis or anything like that. And so that's kind of why I took it upon myself to take that responsibility, because I didn't see much of the family kind of going that realm of educating themselves about those finances. And so I wanted to educate myself about it. So I did that with massage. Now I'm doing that with finances. And who's to say I'm going to learn a different, industry later down the road.
Okay, so how can they find you on Instagram then? What's your handle there?
So my handle is actually literally just my full name. So it's Karlo, KARLO _ Libunao, LIBUNAO.
There you go. How many
Yeah.
times have you had to do that during school,
Yeah.
right? It's like endless. Oh my God.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, so it's literally the same as you. You're Mike Libunao. I'm Karlo Libunao, right?
All right, there you go, folks. And like I said, we will have his links down in the description below.
Yes, awesome.
All right, we'll see you guys in the next one. Oh, hey, oh, hey, oh. All right, recorded.
All right,
Yeah.
there it is.